Welcome to the Women Who Change the World podcast, the place where everyday women world changers share their stories to inspire, challenge, and equip you to change your world. And here we have part 2 of this wonderful interview. It had so many amazing things that to cut any out would be sad. There will be a bit of overlay from the previous episode, but that's to keep the conversation having flow and continuity. And with that, we are back.
And how we teach these rules shouldn't be from a perspective of because I said so. I'm the parent, so I said so. I mean, it's like to try to end an argument is like the easiest thing to say, right? But parenting is intentional and it takes time. Mm-hmm. So, when you do establish rules in the home, the children should see that it's from a love perspective. That's what the commandments are for. They are there to protect us, to keep us safe because God loves us. And it's the same way we as parents, we need to be establishing rules in our homes as well. It's from a love perspective. It's not because we have power and authority over that person that I need to show that I'm in power. No, it's because we love them. We want to protect them. And at that point in their life, their phase in their life, they need our protection. They need our support. And so that is the reason why we have those rules, those boundaries, until as they get older, you can adjust accordingly, right? But it should always be from a love, protection perspective, not from a command or I have power over you perspective. Children will bounce back. They will give you a fight if they get it from that perspective.
In our house, we call those hard issues when our children are not heading in the right direction. And it's not because this is the direction we believe you're supposed to go. It's like, this is what God says.
Yes.
We started in our homeschooling memorizing sections of Proverbs. And I liked it because it was Solomon's fault, not mine. It was Solomon's fault. Solomon said so. He's the wisest man ever. In parenting, though, you will, if you have one of these children who keeps saying why, eventually you have to get to the point of because I said so. I've had one of I have like 3 sets of kids, and in every set there's always been one child who I've tried to explain it to, but why? And eventually I'm like, because I said so. Because I love you, I'm trying to take care of you, because I said so, let's move on.
Yes.
There's only so much explaining you can do of why it's not a good idea to eat an entire box of cookies before dinner. I've had one of those. In your, I'm growing. I'm trying to grow. I'm trying to develop. I'm trying to raise my lid. I'm trying to be better. But the person is struggling because they grew up in an abusive home. But they still have to discipline their kids. But they're still growing. And there's a lot of gray matter in there. And there's going to be lots of mistakes. I mean, even if you grew up in a fabulous home, you're still going to make mistakes as a parent because you're human. So how do I discipline my kids, be self-aware, give them grace, give myself grace? There's a lot in there, Sania, and it's exhausting. And the parent feels like, I'm never going to, I can't do anything right no matter what I do.
Yeah.
You talked about the child feeling like they can never do anything right. Well, the parent over here is going, but I'm trying, I'm feeding them, I'm loving them. I can't let them do stupid stuff. No, you cannot stick a fork in a light socket. No, you do not run through the house with scissors.
Yes.
Oh, your sibling hit you? Did you hit them first? Well, yeah, well, there you go. You guys got what you deserved. So there's all of this going on. And the moms that are listening, I am tired. I am tired. And you're telling me that I have to grow because what I am isn't good enough. And I'm going to try to grow, but then I've got to discipline I'm keep going back over the cycle, and it becomes a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
So take your knowledge that you have as a psychologist, but step into the shoes of being mom. Because even with all of your background, it doesn't fix being mom, because mom is real life.
Yes.
Psychology is like this great philosophy and great way of thinking. But in real life, when you've had 2 hours of sleep because somebody threw up all over your bed, and then they were wide awake, and then you were wide awake, you're not at your best. So, as a mom, as a Christian parenting coach, what do you have to say to these moms who are like, you have no idea what I go through every day?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I do have an idea. I'm a mom. I have 2 children. And I've had experience. I do have those experiences where I do say, what am I doing? And I think one of the sentences I would add to myself, but I know what to do. But why is it that I'm struggling so much, at these points? And I would verbalize to my husband, and he'd say, Sania, don't even go down that road. Have a little grace on yourself, because the reality is that it's not easy. It's not easy. And the reality is that, yes, you're right. Textbooks cannot tell you step by step to do this. And also include the fact that you're going to have a fancy dandy time in parenting. The reality is that parenting is hard. And you need to just accept that part. The journey of parenting itself takes effort. And that's the journey of growth as well. It takes effort. It is not going to just fall on our laps. It takes effort. No one has been blessed. I don't know of any parent that's been blessed with just enlightenment in their eyes, in their mind, and they are now a perfect parent. They had to go through those daily struggles in order to become the person who they are. They had to make peace or be okay with the mistakes that they've made in order to learn and to move forward. I can tell you that, for parents who recognize that, hey, I'm not perfect and I'm going to make mistakes, and learn from their mistakes and make the effort to grow, despite of how hard it is, they're more at peace with their journey than parents who decide, you know what, this is what it is. That's what it is. And I'm going to have a hard time, and that, still be hard on themselves and not make peace with that. Those people have a much harder time. They become more rigid and more controlling, because emotionally we're out of state as well. We're out of sorts as well. Right? So we know, and I know, because I go through it each day. Like my kids are there to remind me every day that, hey, come on, yeah, come on. It's not book hair, it's me. And I get tired and sick and frustrated, and that's a part of it, and it's okay. But what we need to do is not give up, and do not give up on our growth and the intentionality that we need to have. There are a few things that as parents that we can try our best to do, is get as much rest as possible, because trust me, when you're a tired parent, it is super hard. Like when you're tired, I know for myself, when I don't get enough sleep, I just brace myself for the day. I said, because I'm studying now, I'm doing my writings and stuff like that. So sometimes I don't go to bed when I'm supposed to. And then the next day, I have to just brace myself to say, I'm going to have a hard day today. I'm going to have a tough day today, because I'm sleep deprived. I'm tired. I'm going to be irritable. So the difference for me there is that I'm aware. I'm aware of the fact that this is going to happen. And when you're aware of something, you can, it's easier to make calculated decisions as to how you're going to approach it. Okay. So you're not agreeing, okay, I'm going to have a tough day, and so what? It's okay, I'm going to have a tough day. What am I going to do about it? Right? And that's something as a leader that we have to think about. We can't just lie on our backs and give our hands to the sky. No,
Right.
as a parent, we can't just do that. Even if we feel like it, and trust me, we do a lot of times. We
Mm-hmm.
feel like we could just do that. But the reality is that we can't. And just keep going. Gains, if you have support people around you, get that support around you. Get as much support around you, because we can't do this alone. I know society forces us to be alone,
Right.
but we need support. If even to have someone to cry on, shoulder to cry on,
Mm-hmm.
to say, right now I'm feeling like I'm failing and I just need to vent, just listen, don't say anything, I just want to cry. It's okay for that.
Mm-hmm.
Emotionally, mentally, as a person, it's okay for that. It's okay to take a break from your children. It's okay to say, I am going in my room for an hour and don't call me. Don't call me. So, I mean,
Even
it's hard.
Jesus.
Like when you have younger children, it's
Oh yeah.
harder,
Well,
right?
Jesus needed a break, and if Jesus needs a break, then
He took breaks.
he did.
He
We
took
have
them.
a couple of generations, at least that I know of, who come from this mindset that if you apologize to your children, they lose respect for you. And they associate it with love means never having to say you're sorry. Now, from my perspective in raising my kids, nobody knows me better than my children. I've homeschooled. This is my 19th year of homeschooling. They've been with me all day long. They know my buttons to push. They know the mistakes that I make. How does it affect children if a parent never apologizes or doesn't feel they need to apologize?
Okay. I some years ago, I think, I don't remember the age of my daughter, but she did something, and I think she said a word or said something that was very disrespectful, and in that moment I was triggered, and I responded by telling her, okay, you're gonna have an early sleep tonight. Okay. So I sent her to bed early. And then after that, I thought about it, and I asked myself, did she really know that what she did was wrong? Like what she said was wrong. Did she know? And I realized that no, she didn't, because she has never done it before. And I've never taught her before that it is wrong. So the next day when she woke up, I placed her beside me and I talked to her. And I said, I apologized to her for reacting the way I did the day before. And well, that is after I spoke to her. I said, okay, have I ever told you that that is wrong before? She said, no, I didn't know it was wrong and all that stuff. And that's when I realized, okay, I missed a teaching moment there yesterday. I did. So I apologized to her and I said, I didn't know you did not know.
Right.
And I'm sorry. I'm sorry for sending you to, giving you consequence and all that stuff. And to this day, she talks about it. She brings it up. Not from the perspective of I'm mad at you, because I did ask her. I said, are you still mad at me? She said, no, actually, I'm just that you said sorry, like you apologized, right? And that is what made the mark on her. That's what made the mark on her, and it made an impact on her that when you do something, you apologize, and your mom, who she sees as somebody who doesn't make mistakes and all that stuff in her, I don't know if she thinks about it that way, but usually we think parents don't make mistakes. But that person apologized to me, and for her it was a big deal. It was a big deal. Now, on the other hand, I will tell you that I have spoken with persons who said, I was hurt I was hurt, and I spoke with my parent about it. They're adults now. I spoke with my parents about it, speak with my parents about it, and they don't even apologize. They still try to say why whatever they did was the correct way.
Mhm.
They don't apologize, and I don't care about what they did. Like, all I want them to, I know, yes, it was hurtful, but all I want them to do is just to say, I'm sorry. That's all I want. And I forgive them, but the burden is still there because they haven't apologized, right?
Mhm.
But I'm still hurt. And, I'm just sharing those two stories to say that it does impact our children. There's a
Mhm.
wound there, a rupture there that we, based on our interaction, maybe our child did it, or we did it based on our response
Right.
to our child. It is there. And one of the best ways to heal that wound is through saying, I'm sorry. And the other side is forgiving. That's like sewing a wound together. It's saying I'm sorry and the action of forgiveness. It goes both ways. There's a scripture too, where Jesus said that, you come to me with sacrifices, you come before me with your sacrifices, but if you have aught against your brother, you need to leave your sacrifices at the altar. Go make things right with them, and then you come back. It doesn't only go for an adult or your friend or your co-worker or your church sister or your church brother. It doesn't only go for them. It goes for that little child in your house. If a rift has happened between you and them, you need to go make it right with them and then come back before Jesus, right? And get the blessing of Jesus. It's that way. It's really that impactful. The power of apology frees you emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and it also helps the other person to heal. It connects with the other person from an emotional, mental perspective as well, biological perspective, and it helps them to heal. It helps to decrease the release of stress chemicals, because imagine you have this rift up, you're releasing stress chemicals, which are damaging to your system psychologically and physically, to your immune system. And just the fact that someone connected with me, my mom or my parent connected with me to say, hey, I'm sorry that this happened. I apologize. Oh, that weight that comes off of that person's shoulder, and that chemically, what that does to our temple of Jesus feels, our bodies are temple. What that does to our temple is releases us from the stress chemical of cortisol itself, right? So it has so many, like scripture has so many, when it says go apologize or go make it right, it's spiritual, but it's also physical, because God knows, he created us, he knows our body, he knows the impact that these things has on us. And for our children, we need to do the same thing. Emotionally speaking, if we don't learn to apologize, we're teaching our children that whatever that person did to you, your person of authority did to you, it's okay, even though they're feeling violated on the inside, because they're people too. They feel violated on the inside, and the person of authority, the person I love and adore and who takes care of me, is not making it right. So it must be okay for them. It must be okay. Maybe I'm not getting it right. Okay, I need to shut down that feeling of violation that I'm having, because that person who I look up to is saying it's correct. And what happens there is that child grows up accepting abuse. They accept abuse is a strong word, but it's small things too. Accepting to get their boundaries crossed, let me say that, right? Accepting their bodies and their minds to be violated, whether it be somebody taking advantage of them and causing them to work way over time with little pay and all that stuff. That is a violation. But because we didn't learn from a younger on that it is okay to honor your feelings towards violation and make a note of it, then they grow up doing this, accepting the same thing, right? So it's just looking at the long-term impacts as well of just simple action of not apologizing to your children. And they don't, based on my experience so far, I haven't seen where apologizing to your children actually cause the child to respect you less. In fact, you increase your influence even more onto your child when you do apologize. That's based on my experience as a person, as a child, and what I've done as a mom, and also all the children and the teens that I spoke with who their parents have apologized to them. That parent have increased the level of influence that they will have in that child's life, on top of teaching all the value of apology. Yeah.
Let's talk about boundaries for a little bit.
Yes.
This is a very interesting thing. I've just started listening to Boundaries by Doctors Cloud and Townsend again. And in the first chapter, they're giving an example of this woman who has no boundaries, and her child has issues at school.
Yeah.
And so at first she was angry, and then she realized the teacher told her, there's something going on at home for your child to behave this way. I have, in my experience, the more boundaries I have set, the more my children respect me. We have a philosophy in our house. If you can disagree with me, but you don't get to be rude about it. Because I firmly believe part of my job as a parent, especially a Christian parent, is to teach how to have relationships.
Yes.
I don't want my children to feel like they can't disagree, but I want them to learn how to disagree respectfully. And in the process of teaching them how to set boundaries, of me setting boundaries, them seeing it, and they learn to set boundaries, my daughter quit a very well-paying job because they were expecting her to do something that was 3 levels above her, and only paying her for something that was a level below. So she wasn't getting paid what she deserved. And then when she would make decisions, the management team wouldn't back her up. So she gave him 2 weeks to fix things. They didn't fix it, and she left. My oldest son was working in fast food, and during the lunch hour, they would let everybody else go on lunch, and he's up there running drive-through and the front line at the same time. He talked to them about it. He talked to the district manager who he used to work for before, and they were like, oh, well, yeah, it's your problem. So he gave him 2 weeks notice and he left. These are my experiences. But would you say that a child is not understanding boundaries is because the parents themselves don't have healthy boundaries?
That can be one of the reasons, right?
Okay.
That can be the other reason I'd say, the other thing I'd say is perhaps a child over time have had experiences where their boundaries are violated and they don't learn, they haven't had the opportunity, or the parents haven't recognized or haven't taken the steps to intentionally teach them about boundaries. So those are 2 ways. But well, when you think about it too, you really have to have an act for healthy boundaries to recognize when your child is struggling with boundaries, to teach them too. So
right.
To a great extent, I would say, or yes, our children learn about boundaries from the interaction we have with them and what we teach them about boundaries. To a great extent. I will tell you that growing up, myself and my siblings, and we talk about it, we were told to respect adults no matter what, right? You know, if they say negative things towards us or criticize us, we shouldn't say anything. Like, we weren't told not to say anything, but if we do talk about it, we wouldn't be told, oh man, that's wrong. Like, we wouldn't be told, like, oh, that on the side of the adult, we wouldn't be told that, or just the way that people would treat us and not necessarily seeing my parents firing back or just responding in an assertive way, that taught us indirectly that we need to be submissive. And because of that, now, we had to grow from, we had to really heal from that. That is something that we had to learn. I remember for myself, I was a executive secretary for the student union at my university. And I remember someone in authority, someone I was working with, she treated me really badly. She treated me really in front of people. She disrespected me in front of people.
Oh, wow.
And I melted. I had tears coming down my eyes in front of all those people. I was so embarrassed and I ran away. I ran out. I just ran away and I went and I cried and I cried. And then, of course, that emotional wall that I talked about earlier came back. And that came back with anger and resentment and more of like, if you ever do that, like I was prepared to go back to cuss her out, basically, right? Because that's how we learn how to do it, is the emotional discomfort. You just cuss out that person and move on. But really what that was is I didn't learn at that point in time to be assertive as it relates to my boundaries when things are violated, to in my clear mind respond to say, excuse me, not because you are such a person and I am just a student, you are going to treat me like that. If I had the opportunity to do that again, that's what I would do today. But that's after years of growing and have to training myself. So sometimes in parenting, it's not necessarily what we do. Sometimes it's what we don't do. Right. And you're right. As parents, we need to be aware of boundaries. How we model that boundary, because our children watch us, they model us. So how do we model boundaries? And when experiences happen in their life or people's life around us, and how we support people and advocate for people, how we support those people makes an impact on our children's life. And in essence, as they get older, they will know right from wrong. That will help the child also to recognize injustice and to be able to be an advocate instead of standing on the sidelines. It doesn't only have to be for us. It's what we model to children that other people around us are experiencing. And if we just step on the sideline and like, we're teaching children to be accepting of that too. And as they become adults, the cycle just continues. So sometimes it's not what we do too, it's also what we don't do as it relates to boundaries. And I'm really happy that you asked that question, because it's something that we don't talk a lot about in our parenting journey at all.
I want to go back to something you said, and I think this is a good place to start wrapping things up. You mentioned healthy attachment. What is healthy attachment, and how do we cultivate that in our parenting with our children?
So I won't give verbatim the book definition, but it's really just the emotional attachment is the emotional and physiological attunement that you have with another person on an ongoing basis that feels safe and secure.
Okay.
That's it. And it seemed like a simple definition, but really that's it. If our children feels emotionally and physically safe and secure with us, we're really helping them to develop secure attachment. We're helping them to know that they are safe, and then we're giving them, or we're giving them, as they're worth it, the capacity to explore their world around them in safety and be courageous and to make mistakes and to learn from them in a secure space. When they develop relationships, they are able to know the difference. They are able to tell what is safe relationship and what is not safe relationship, whether it's work or intimate and social, whatever, moving forward, right? That is that is what it means to really have a secure relationship with our children. Sometimes there are other types of attachment. You know, we have the anxious, ambivalent, or the situations where we are unpredictable, and one day we're this way, the other day we're that way, and our children don't know whether they should just relax today or not.
Right.
That can impact our children negatively, and cause them to develop insecure attachment, right?
Right.
It could be about life. People around us, they grow up not being trustful. They grow up just fending for themselves, like, you know, you have to survive on your own.
Right.
No one's gonna do it for you, you know, that type of mentality that we grew up with. You know, where did that come from? You know, things like that. But the good news is that even if we did experience an insecure attachment, we don't have to continue being that way. Yes, it may take a healing process, but it doesn't mean that we're going to live the rest of our life being an insecure attached person. Or even if we started out that way with our children, it doesn't mean that we can't help to undo that with our children.
How do we fix it?
It takes time and process. It takes willingness to connect with that child, to apologize. Again, that's coming up again. And to be consistent with who we are. Because a lot of times, as I tell parents of teens, that your teens, they're your kids, they're watching you. If you say that you're trying not to do something and then you fall back on that, they're not going to trust the next time you talk to them. So be consistent, be accountable to what you say. If you find that you're having a hard time keeping your promise and working through it, get help, get that extra support from somebody. It could be a counselor, it could be pastor, elder, or someone who is an expert in whatever area it is that you need support with. Get that help and work through that. Also acknowledge to your child that this is also new for me. I'm not used to doing this. So I would like for us to work on this together. That's actually a big part of one of my coaching programs, is that, you know, we talk about the power of repairing and resetting, and a big part of it is apologizing and really communicating that I'm not going to be perfect at this. I would like your help in the process as well. Like, let me know when I'm not being accountable, and I will not be prideful and not listen.
Right.
And when you do that, it helps both ways, because your child is going to notice that you're trying, and then they're going to feel more confident to want to try as well, or to believe what you're saying and still be open to your influence and so forth. But it is possible to heal that insecure attachment between yourself and your child. Help your child and your teen to be physical, as I mentioned before, physically and emotionally safe. It takes just being there, connecting with their world, and just being there with them. The same way you would feel, or you want someone to treat you, treat your child the same way. Treat your child the same way. And I'm going to say something that many people don't believe or agree with, but I'm going to say it anyway. Be your child's friend. I'm just going to say it like that. Be your child's friend. Because you are the friend that you want your child to have. You want, when they're a teenager and they have other friends out there, they see you as that wise friend. They can come back to say, hey, you know, this happened. Or, oh my gosh, I made this decision and I'm so sorry about it, mom or dad, right? And they know that you're a secure base they can come back to apologize and to repair from the wrong they did, to learn from the wrong they did, and to move forward, to go back out again. Because we're training adults to be self-sufficient, to be independent, and to have a mind of their own. So be your child's friend. I'm not saying you should be like, oh, do whatever you want to do type of thing, because that's not a good friend anyway. A good friend is not somebody who just allow their friend to just do whatever to their own self-destruct. Okay? Be your child's friend, be their parent, but also you want to also be their friend, the person they can come to and feel themselves with, be their self with, to grow with, to learn from, to come to for insight and wisdom, someone they can easily talk to. Teens, they love to talk, mostly. I mean, we always say they shut off in their room and all that stuff, but if you get them around, if you observe them around their friends, you realize they love to talk and be crazy. And as parents, how can we do that? How can we get into the in of doing that as well? I'm not saying we should try to replace our children's friends. No, absolutely not. They need to have their friends, but also we need to be at that place where they can be themselves, crazy self around us and talk nonstop as well with us.
Saying that they want to be in their room reminded me of two funny stories. One, a friend of mine she would get mad and she'd slam her door to her bedroom. And so her dad's like, you slam the door one more time, I'm taking the door off its hinges. And so she looked at him, immediately slammed the door. He went and got his screwdriver and took the door off his hinges, and it was off for 6 weeks. He's like, this is going to stop. She went and changed in the bathroom, but she didn't slam doors after that. That was funny. But another parent who had to step in, their child was doing drugs in their bedroom. And the teenager was like, you need to get out of my business. And the mom was like, you came out of my business. You're still a child. This is illegal. And if this doesn't work, then we're going to deal with the police on this because it's illegal. And eventually the police had to step in, and he hated her forever and all of those things. And she talked to me about it. It's like, look, sometimes we've got to give tough love.
Yeah.
And especially if it's for their own good. I have a son who's on the autism spectrum, and I have to remind him, you need to take a shower. I don't want to take a shower. You smell bad. Take a shower. And then it's make sure you bring clean underwear and clean clothes. And if somebody has an autistic child, they know what I'm talking about. And then he doesn't get out until the water is cold. So as a parent, your job is varied. Your job is hard.
Yes.
And I think the worst thing we can do is to not be gracious with ourselves, because we're still learning. We're still growing. We're still developing. To not be gracious with our children, because they're learning and they're developing and they're growing. And I'm going through this because I made a list. I'm like, okay, what are our main points? Being self-aware. I'm human. My child is human. Grace. Setting good boundaries. One of the main boundaries that I've had to set with my children is, and this is funny, but they would try to get me to give them a hug while I'm using the bathroom. And I would say, okay, I'll give you a hug, but you have to wipe my bottom. They're like, ew, no, gross. And they'd leave the room. It's funny, but they don't demand hugs anymore while I'm going to the bathroom. Apologizing, because whether you think your children see your flaws or not, they do. Building a connection. Sometimes that means chasing after them and finding out things that you really, listening to stories about Minecraft that you really don't care about. But it's because of them. And the last thing is you teach them what a relationship is. I've seen many times where, like the baby boomer generation, they just expect their grandchildren to come and love on them and know how to treat them. And it's like, they're kids. You're an adult. You have experience. You teach them what a relationship is like. And if being in a relationship means I always have to come to you and you never come and take care of me, that's not a relationship. So we have to set those boundaries and teach relationships. And I love that about being your child's friend. And the whole truth of what being a friend is. A friend isn't, oh, you're great, you're wonderful all the time. Your friend is like, you're stupid. You know that, right? Why did you do that? You knew better. Those are the best friends as an adult to have in your life. And that's the kind of thing, in as far as dealing with in parenting and where I am, one of the things that I've done with my oldest children is, what did you hope to accomplish with what you did?
Yes.
Where were you, what was the best result that you were hoping to get out of this? And then my my oldest kids hate this because they know what it means. But it's very simple. They'll tell me something, and it's like, I've told you, that's going to be dumb. It's going to be a mistake. And I don't say it anymore. I'll just say, okay. And they like, wow, because they know that I'm like, washing my hands, do your thing, go see for yourself. And they come back and go, Mom, it didn't work.
Yeah.
I have this little meme that I printed out, put on my refrigerator. If at first you don't succeed, try doing it the way your mother told you.
That's a good one.
It doesn't always work, but sometimes it does. And it's like, yeah, there was a reason I told you to do that.
Yeah.
So thank you for your time today, Sania. I really appreciate it. I appreciate the time that you poured into me and you poured into everybody else. And the graciousness of coming from your profession and from where you are as a parent.
Yes.
It's really powerful when you have somebody on your side who walks the path you walk, but also has the education background to support what they're trying to say. Is there something you would like to say to the moms who are just ready to pull their hair out and they are done? And I don't even think a week's vacation would be enough to make them feel better. A week's vacation by themselves.
Oh my gosh. I'm just saying, my heart is with you. A week vacation would be good. It's okay to want a vacation. And I just want to say to Mom that, don't be discouraged. I know you do feel discouraged, but you're not the only parent who goes through this. Because we tend to say, I'm such a terrible parent, like there's no one else out there like me. But many parents are struggling the same way you are. So we're part of a parenthood, I'd say. Be gracious with yourself. Be realistic. You're gonna have tough days, and then you're gonna have days where you feel like you're a champion. Celebrate the days when you feel like you're a champion and bask in it. Be encouraged by it and get fuel from it. The days you're having tough days, definitely be intentional and don't allow the circumstances to hit you off your feet. Be intentional and remember, those days don't last. There are good days that's going to come. There are days when you're going to sit and you're like, oh my gosh, I love being a parent. I love my children so much. I'm so good at, I feel so good. Those days are going to come too. But the days when you're having a not so good days, be gracious with yourself. Take extra time with yourself. It's okay to slow down and it's okay to not get everything done. Sometimes you just need to just unwind, just to take a break, just do what we call crisis mode response, right? It's okay to just do that because it's not going to be every day. And it's okay to get support. It's okay to ask for help. It could be from a wise mother or somebody you trust and who is willing to support you, or a friend, or even to hire somebody to come and babysit your kids for an hour, watch them. I'm going to go for an hour, take a walk and come back. if it's even to do that, it's okay to do that. Please forgive yourself. You're gonna make mistakes. The more you hold on to those mistakes in a negative way and not seeing them as teachers, is the harder it's gonna be for you. So acknowledge that you do make mistakes. We all do make mistakes, and see how that mistake or that not so positive decision, how it can teach you. What can you learn from that and move on from that? Because as parents, we're all growing. This is a growing journey, and nobody's perfect. There's no perfect script out there. There are strategies that works better and make her life a little bit easier, much easier. But there's no script out there that exactly tells you what to do. This is something that we're all in together, and you can do this. Down the road, your children are gonna come back to you and they're gonna say, "I appreciate you. I appreciate what you have done for me." You may not see the reward right now, but down the road, your children are going to come, because they will remember as adults, everything that they've experienced, the good, the bad, the ugly, will accumulate to become who they are. And they will remember the times of repairs, the times when you try to make things right with them, the positive moments. They remember the negative too, but they will remember what you did from the positive perspective to help. And that is what will outweigh what happened if there was some rupture that happened, and they will appreciate that you have taken the step to be intentional with them and to do the positive things with them and support them. So be encouraged, pray hard, and also depend on God. Look to Jesus, who is the author and finisher of our faith, who is also our shepherd. Study what a shepherd does and see how that aligns with Jesus, and how we as parents, we can also model that.
Thank you, Sania. I appreciate that, and I appreciate you.
Thank you.
That is all I have for you guys this week. I will talk to you soon.